This is the Small Town Big Talk Show, the only place where you can listen in on real-life conversations about the challenges and the joys of living in a small town. I'm your host, Rebecca Undum, and each week a guest will join me as we tackle one topic that more than likely we're all feeling or have thought about, but of course, no one wants to talk about. Let's chat. My guest on today's episode is my mom, Jean Rodine. And we sit down in her beautiful new home to chat about how we have come to maneuver the major change in our relationship that happened with the move for us back to my small town. So we used to live 110 miles apart. We now live 110 steps apart. And just the dynamics of being a farmer's daughter turned farmer wife for me, and how, I've come to appreciate her and look at her differently as I've gotten older, raising my own children. It truly is just a beautiful discussion between a mother and a daughter. And I can't wait to hear what you think and what your takeaways are. Family really is everything. And I'm so grateful that I had this opportunity to sit down with my mom. Enjoy our chat. Hi, Mom.
Hi, honey.
Thanks for sitting down with me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. So were you excited to do this with me?
Not my favorite thing, but I'm always willing to help you in your endeavor here.
Thank you, Mom.
Whatever.
You know why I'm really happy you sat down? I shared this with you that I was at Renee's, this last weekend, and we were talking, and she said that these little episodes, the one with Dad, she's like, "You're going to get your mom to do it." I'm like, "I'm going to ask." You're not. I get it. It's just not your thing. But the fact that these conversations will be gifts to us, gifts to our children, that down the road they'll be able to look at this. I mean, it's just one point in time, but still, not a lot of people. If Grandma Seafelt were here, I mean, I would make her sit down. She probably would be happy to, right? Can you imagine? That would have
been wonderful.
Would have been amazing to have.
Yeah.
So thank you. I appreciate it. I know it doesn't make you super comfy, but we're in your home and we're drinking coffee and we're making it as comfy as we can, right?
Speaking of Grandma Seafelt, I do recall the time when we were coming back from an LWML convention in Sioux Falls, and it was me and you and Mom, and you and Grandma had a wonderful conversation.
It was wonderful.
All the way home about Grandma's past and what she experienced, and I loved that, and I will always remember that. Too bad we couldn't record that.
Yeah, it makes me sad thinking about it. It's not that I would have ever forgotten about it, but it doesn't sit right here in my memory.
Right.
But yeah, she told us all about, well, you probably knew. Did you know most of it?
I knew it all, yes. But it was...
Thank you for giving me that opportunity to ask all those questions, because, man, did she have a hard upbringing.
Yes.
Fully.
She did.
Yeah.
Being the 12th child, she always felt like she was probably not real wanted.
Well, and I think,
and it was,
she actually wasn't
30s.
wanted. I mean, a lot of times, like she said that she shuffled off and
she got farmed out to the older brother and sisters.
Yeah, spent the summers with them. And do you remember when she was telling us about how her mom had gone into town and probably walked, right?
Probably.
Walked into town and got a little vial of cod liver oil.
Oh, yes, right.
For Grandma.
Right.
Because she was sick.
Yeah.
And she came in and tripped over the threshold and it broke.
Yes, right. I kind of forgotten that one.
Can you imagine how she felt? She said, I just felt like, here I am creating more problems for my poor mother, and their dad was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. So there, we just did a little bit of remembering, but yeah, that was so beautiful. And I was the other thing too is having shared Dad's episode first. You know, he's my first talk show guest, and friends of mine were reaching out saying like, you're inspiring me to want to interview my own parents or talk.
Right.
It's something that, I think
we think I'll always have time for this.
Yeah, totally.
There'll be time. But I'm telling you, Grandma Seafelt died suddenly at age 76. And then And that's it. I mean, you don't get another chance.
And it's just like the hardest, most awful thing.
And that was one of the hardest things with my grief, was knowing that I'd never be able to ask Mom a question again about her family, and
she knew all the stuff.
And she knew all the stuff. She was the one that,
she's like the family historian.
Yeah. She
so much
planned the reunions because she just felt so strongly about keeping family together.
So much left with her. And that makes me really sad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet here we are, right? So thank you. I know, like I said, this isn't your favorite thing, but
well, it's not like
I appreciate it.
I'm going to die from it.
You're not going to die. No, I promise.
I'll be okay.
I promise you. I won't let you die from it. So the chapters from the book that are going to, well, it's funny. So you are like a central theme throughout the book. I mean, I could have pulled you in to have you on this talk show at any moment along the way. I chose Dad for the first because the initial part of that story was written more from your vantage point, right? I mean, and really from the vantage point of a woman now stepping into a lifestyle that I never really wanted, and I was channeling your feelings about it because I can only speak to the feminine side of this.
Right.
So I enjoyed listening to Dad talk about...
Well, I did too.
Yeah, what were your takeaways from that? From watching, going back and watching his episode?
Well, I know, talking about when times were really tough, late 70s, early 80s, well, all the way through the 80s, actually. I can't help looking back at that, and I have a lot of regrets. I know he has a lot of regrets for his reasons. I have a lot of regrets for mine, and mine were that I couldn't be more supportive of him at the time because I was raising 2 little children, and it was just very hard. He was working nonstop, trying to get ahead, trying to make a living for us. And it seemed like the harder he worked, the more behind we got. And he would come home at night. It usually was 10 o'clock, bedtime. You kids were in bed, so he never got to say goodnight to you. And he looked so sad and so drug out and so absolutely
dejected.
Yeah.
Just like the world had beat him down, right?
And maybe before he came in the door, I was thinking, I need to talk to him about this, about the kids, or about something.
Right.
And all I had to do was look at him and think, I cannot lay anything more on his plate. And so I didn't talk to him.
Right.
And being the sinful, selfish person that I am, I built up resentment after doing this over and over again. And honestly, our marriage almost did not survive it.
Right.
And I thank God above, for getting us through. And yeah, we came out just fine. And there were times I begged him to give up farming because I didn't see anything good in it at the time.
Right. Well, there wasn't. I think realistically,
it was very hard.
There wasn't anything good in it at the time.
Right.
But it was all he knew.
It was all he knew.
And it is what he loves.
It is what he loves. And I certainly feel now that I'm very grateful that he was a strong, tough individual. He's the hardest working man I know,
Me too.
He just works very hard.
He does.
And obviously we've been blessed many, many times over, But I think going through those tough things, it makes us appreciate the good that much more.
Right.
Everything in life is a lesson. And God tests us or puts us through tests to teach us things. And what he's trying to teach us is trust in me.
Yeah, you're not in control.
You're not in control. It's not up to you. Put your trust in me. And I'm still learning that. Obviously, every day, I still want to control things.
No. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Where would you have gotten that? But yeah, life's a journey.
Yeah.
It just is.
So I want to go back though to something you said a little bit ago. You said that I don't remember the exact words. You were saying that you, as a sinful person, you build resentment.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten to a place where you can give yourself some grace for that though?
Oh, maybe at times.
I mean, because granted, Dad came in, dejected, beaten down from the day's events, and you couldn't put anything on him. But you had things that you needed to share with your partner.
Right.
And and again, it's not about who was at any fault. It's just the situation was what it was. But I still feel like I hear guilt in your voice over that. And maybe I'm only hearing it, so I'm asking for clarification on it.
Do you ever really get over regrets from the past? I don't know. It's just kind of like you carry them with you. But the thing is, you can't change it. All you can do is go forward. And
I do think I know like biblically in our church, we've had conversations about, is self-forgiveness a thing? Like, can you forgive yourself? But I personally think that that's an important aspect of healing.
I think because the bigger thing is the realization that Christ has forgiven you. And you don't need to keep bringing it up over and over again.
Right, but I guess
forgives once and for all.
That's my point then, I guess. Okay. Is that it's that decision to say, why am I beating myself up over this anymore when I'm forgiven of it? Because I'm a jerk. Like maybe 50% of the time. Like
you are not.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Especially when it comes to my spouse, which is one of the just most vexing dynamics,
relationships.
My word, right? Like,
right. Yes.
They love you the most and they frustrate you the most. And everybody that is married, I think probably knows that.
I think so. It's just,
but I feel so much compassion for you. My conversation with Dad allowed that compassion for him to kind of resurface because it's easy for me to forget it.
Right.
Because I'm on one side of the fence in this whole dynamic. I'm the supporter and I'm the kid rearer and I'm the nurturer and I'm taking care of the home front, and I do it almost single-handedly, which clearly you did as well.
And the truth is, when I was your age, raising the children on my own, you can't help but feeling sorry for yourself and wishing things were different.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just always looking at the blessings in a bad situation,
Right.
Because no matter how tough it may seem at the time and how you feel like I just can't take it, obviously you're still very blessed and it could be so much worse is all I'm trying to say.
Well, and I think that the balance to that, though, as women in particular, because mostly women watch these episodes. Some men might, but I feel like all people need to figure out how to extend grace to themselves,
right?
Because we're so hard on ourselves.
We're so prone to beat ourselves up over things. I know.
So I think there's something to be said about just saying like, this really sucks. As long as it's not like a poor me, as long as it doesn't devolve into the like straight victim thinking where you never see anything good going on. But I think there can be a danger in just trying to brush past it too.
Well,
because then it sits there unresolved.
And therein lies the difference between you and I. I'm so proud about the fact that you so openly share everything for the good of other people. I am not like that. I always felt like if I talked about things that I hadn't done well or didn't handle well, that I would look like a failure. And,
it's perfectionism.
And it kind of started with my marriage.
Right.
Because I was very young. I was only 18. Mm-hmm. Tom was 25. Mm-hmm. 26.
I was say, he was 26.
He was 26.
I quick did the math. I'm like, he's 8 years older than you.
And my mother and father were not happy about that. And of course,
I don't even know if I properly chronicled.
I didn't know how to say it.
It's in the book, right? But I don't
True.
know if
and they did come to love
well, they
Tom.
had
It was
incredible
just,
reservations. You can put it that way, and
As-
rightly so.
as I would. If you had done that, I would have been livid.
Right, you
But,
guys would have
yeah.
freaking been beside yourselves,
Right.
like for real.
And so my parents, I mean, their attitude was, you made your bed, you lie in it. And so I really always felt like I had to show them that I was
You had
tough.
your shit together.
I was strong.
Yep.
Until I wasn't.
Yeah.
And and I, like I say, our marriage almost didn't make it, and I had to lean on mom and dad.
How difficult was that for you?
It was horrible. It was, honestly, we were separated for a month, which isn't a really long time, but during that month, the hardest thing for me was that everyone else was so bothered by it. If I could have just handled that myself with Tom, would have been so much easier. But everybody that loved us
Separations.
and cared for us
Separations are public.
was hurting and wanted to do something to help. And yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else to say about it.
And I was 10. I was 10, right? 10?
You were 8.
I was younger than that.
You were 8.
I've always remembered it as 10.
No.
Look at that. Sometimes your memory is wrong.
And I don't know how much that affected you. I guess we never really talked about that a whole lot.
No, we haven't. I remember hearing you guys talking outside on the patio
Oh, yeah?
in the summer when he
Right.
was gone.
Yep.
And I remember feeling like they're not going to stay together. I mean, I remember feeling like that.
Mm-hmm.
But 8's pretty young. I mean, I didn't have a lot of really clear recollection of it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I'm so thankful that you're talking to me about this, because perfectionism is something that robs a lot of people of a lot of joy, I think. Perfectionism steals me of joy a lot, because it's just part of who I am. I was very type A, very controlling,
Mm-hmm.
and absolutely wanting to put out the facade that everything's okay and I've got it figured out. And I can't imagine going through something as difficult as true marital, like a separation,
Mhm.
and not feeling like you could just bare that part of your soul to anybody. Did you bare your soul to anybody then during that time? Did you have a confidant? Did you have somebody? Or was it still pretty filtered? Did anybody ever hear the all the way deep ugly of what you were feeling inside during that time?
I would say probably my best friend. Yeah. Yes. I needed someone to talk to who was my age, for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, I mean, mom and dad, of course, they wanted to protect me from all the hurt.
Yeah.
And
Right. Which clouds their judgment. I mean, about the bigger picture.
It clouded their judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't protect me from the hurt because we created our own hurt in a lot of ways. We had to
Right.
figure this out ourselves. Yeah. There again, it was by the grace of God that we were able to stay together and work it through.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can't even imagine if we hadn't. I cannot even imagine what our life would be like.
Right.
Our lives
Mine,
separately.
all
you,
of ours. Yeah, all of ours.
Joe. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
yeah. It all worked out the way it was supposed to.
Right.
Thank God.
Yeah. So a lot of, in talking with Dad, we talked a bit about how much the relationship has changed. And I would say less so with
whose relationship?
like me and Jeremiah's relationship to you guys.
Right.
And so if you're willing, I'd like to talk to you about you and me a little bit because, in the book, and we were just talking about this a little bit before we actually started recording, just the fact that like you and I had a really strong bond before I moved here.
Right.
And you were my lifeline to civilization for me when I first moved back here. I couldn't. The fact that I was pregnant, didn't have a home, didn't have a job. I mean, wow. It was like such a shock for me. And even though like I make light of it, it should have been like bring me to my knees kind of holy shit. What did we do? Because it was just
it did. You had moments.
Oh, I had moments, but
yeah,
it would have been so much worse if I didn't have your just unfailing. You were just always there.
Mm-hmm.
You made it manageable to me.
Right.
And actually quite lovely. Like when we first moved back and all we did was just crawl around on our hands and knees in the gourd patch and pick gourds together. Like it was really fun.
I remember one of my memories of when you were staying with us.
Yeah. Also living with you.
Living with us and you were pregnant, and I got to experience every day of your pregnancy with you, which was just such a wonderful bond for us. I remember you and I sitting on our bed and you were quite pregnant and little Andrew was really jumping around, and I just remember laying my head on your tummy and just feeling so excited about what was to come. And
right.
Yeah.
And then, and it's 100% true. Like you were, and it's interesting. I've maybe never said this out loud to you. I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
I looked at Jeremiah, probably we were here for maybe a year, so Andrew was here by that point. We were moved into our house in town, but I just had not found friends yet. I hadn't made, it took me a long time to make friends. And that was hard.
I know.
Because I left.
I do remember those conversations.
Really good friends. And I said to Jeremiah, I said, you need to know if something happens to my mom, I'm out of here.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And he was like, what? What do you mean? And I just said to him, I'm like, I don't know that I can live in Oaks without my mom. And it was maybe last week I said to him, I want you to know that I don't feel like that anymore.
Yeah. You grew up.
And that's a weird shift, like to say out loud. And I think it's so because so many of the women that are going to watch this are potentially like me, where they've come back to their hometown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really proud of the last chapter of my book, which I'm kind of like giving it away now. But the whole idea that you have to repurpose it.
Right.
Do you remember that was like the analogy that we talked about, that moving back here, it's like it's old and it has to be new at the same time.
Right.
And that is a very challenging thing to figure out, because I come back and I'm like, people have an impression of who I am, even just that just that foundationally, people think they know who I am. And yet I'm a different person. I come back and I've got experiences, and
I'm not the high school
version of me. Thank the Lord.
Well,
but
for everybody,
then it's our relationship, and it's people that I loved died. They're gone. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it just everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
And so while it should be kind of sad that like, I don't feel that tethered to you anymore. I mean, that's a good thing. Realistically, I should be able to carry on in a community without my mom. Right. But I am sad sometimes. I feel sad by the shift that's happened in our relationship. You're right. I hadn't said this out loud ever, but when I was talking to Dad, I'm like, we went from 110 miles to 110 steps.
Yeah.
It's 110 of my steps.
Yes.
That's actually kind of serendipitous. It's the same distance.
Same distance, right?
And you would think that automatically means a closer, stronger bond. And I don't feel that that's unequivocally true. I feel like it's different. It's different. What do you think? How do you feel? And especially like, let's even talk the last year where you've been in town, you've been right next to us.
Yes.
I just said a lot of things.
You did, and now I'm trying to think, okay, what do you really think?
First? What do you really feel about all of that? Kind of the whole thing. Like, there was a time when I couldn't imagine living here without you.
Yeah.
How has it changed for your side of it?
Well, to be honest, when your dad bought a lot right here, right in the same development, my first thought was, oh my gosh, is that a good idea? You know, will that be good for us, for all of us? I truly worried more about you and Jeremiah and your privacy. You know, we shouldn't always have to know each other's business.
And we kind of do.
Well, we kind of do, but we do keep our boundaries. I mean, it's not like
you and Dad. I want to say this. Give you the credit 100% where it's due. You are very non-obtrusive people, and I really appreciate that about you. You've never been the type of mom that has inserted herself where she is not wanted. You've never been that way.
Well, thank you for that.
It's a really lovely.
I wouldn't want that for myself.
No, but it's a really lovely thing. I mean, I ask you a lot for your opinion about things, but you don't ever just say, well, this is what you need to be doing. You don't ever do that. You've never done that. The whole time, even before kids, any of it.
Like I said, I wouldn't want that for myself, so I certainly am not going to put that on you. But
I think that's one of the reasons this is okay, though, is that you guys aren't, you aren't.
Yes.
You're not bossy. You're just not obtrusive. You don't do that to us, and I'm grateful for that. And
to be very honest, I love being right here close to you guys. One of my favorite things is to have the kids overnight and then bundle them up and carry their bags and stuffed animals, and I watch them walk back to your house, and I just have such a warm feeling in my heart thinking, oh, I am so blessed. And so many people have even said this to me, you know, women my age who say, oh, I wish my grandchildren were close. And then it's like, I have the blessing of that.
Right.
I can't imagine if I had to travel somewhere to see them, because I like seeing them all the time.
You were going to get a pilot's license when me and Jeremiah lived in Billings. I don't know that publicly people know that, but it's really funny to me. Like, we moved to Billings for, it was just me and Jeremiah. We didn't have kids, and you're like, I'm going to learn how to fly. I can't be this far away from
I swear I would have too.
It's interesting because I've said this before. I talked to Corey last night. Corey's episode will air before this one. And I've always been so, I've admired her so much for her bravery, what I see as her bravery and her adventurous spirit. And we moved to Billings, loved Montana. We were just talking, I missed how freaking mild and lovely the weather was.
It was a beautiful place, yes.
But didn't like our jobs. I mean, it maybe would have been a very different story had we both really loved our jobs too. I mean, for sure we would have not come back as fast as we did.
Right.
But when I would call home, I called one time, I called Grandma Seafelt one time, and you guys were like all there. And I felt like I was going to die. I was so sad. I mean, I got off the phone. I was just bawling.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is about me, but I've always wanted to be where my family are. Like it's a really strong thing for me. And for the longest time I felt like, why am I so weak? I attributed it to like some sort of flaw in my character. Like I'm weak and kind of sad and a little pathetic because I just want to be where my family is. I don't know.
There are so many families that don't have that connection. And that's sad to me. I mean,
yeah. Well, I think this is why we started with the topic of just self-judgment.
Yeah.
Why would I feel that way about it? Like, why wouldn't I just say, man, am I blessed to have a family I love enough that I want to be near them?
Well,
but it's just this weird
still thing. Trying to find yourself and figure out who you were. And
totally. Yeah. And I struggled with it a really long time, even after living here. It was like I was embarrassed to say I'd moved back. I was never embarrassed of Oaks. I want to make that really clear. I think I very publicly talk about living big in a small town, and it is never meant to say
No,
that are
condescending
no.
towards. No, because Oaks is a
It's an
beautiful,
amazing little
wonderful
community.
It
yeah.
is.
And
It is.
I want to do my part to make it the best that it can be.
Yeah.
Honoring everything that happened before me, right?
Sure.
Like I try to be very diplomatic about that, but I want to make sure I just at some point go on record to say that
Right.
it's not that I think there's anything wrong with it at all. But when you're wired, I mean, I'm wired differently than a lot of people that live here.
Yeah.
And it's that yearning for, it's probably just significance. I mean, if we're being honest, feeling like
Yeah.
I'm seen and valued for who I really am. But we all have to, first of all, you have to see it and own it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the longest time, I was like, I don't quite fit and I'm not quite right. And then, then when you turn that kind of self-criticism inward,
Mm-hmm.
it creates a ripple effect outward too. And it's ugly. I mean, it's just ugly. Like, obviously, I'm flawed. We're all flawed. But why is it that all we tend to see sometimes are just the flaws? We don't treat the people we love like that.
Right.
It's just a bizarre thing.
It is. It's all part of growing.
So when you think about, I think one of the most beautiful things about how we're living now is that, and I talked about this in the book too, that for me, growing up with my grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
it was at Grandpa Clifford's prayer service. His cousin Amy stood up
Mm-hmm.
and talked about these very distinctive, poignant memories.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting there feeling like, gosh,
You didn't have those.
I don't have like that standout memory. And it's literally because they were woven into the fabric of my entire upbringing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's funny because, I don't know, there's something to be said for chasing adventure maybe, having these standout moments. But then there's something really beautiful about asking yourself, how do you create moments of that throughout every day?
Right.
What do you think about that? I don't know. I just think,
Well, I think that's exactly right. Even the fact that your grandpa and grandma Seafelt, your cousins would come to Oaks for a weekend. Mm-hmm. They got to stay right there with him.
Right.
And then the time they shared was all very precious, wonderful, fun,
and focused. Yeah.
And focused on just being together. Whereas we, living right here, we would just drop in.
Right.
And so your memories are going to be different.
And they feel
you may look
less
special.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They do. As a child, for sure.
Yeah.
They felt less special, I'm sure. But
then
in fact,
mm-hmm.
you got the greatest part of them
mm-hmm.
because you lived right here with them.
Right.
And you had 3 sets of grandparents. So
I know. I was so loved.
You were.
So I said, I'm like, no wonder I feel so special. So many people really loved me. But yeah, and that's what I'm feeling like for my own children. My own children are having that.
Right.
It's the fact that and you and I, I've talked about that. Like when we lived in Fargo, again, this was pre-children.
Yeah.
Children, like you just said earlier before we got on here, like there are always 3 little people standing between you and me. Always. Because they demand to be heard.
No. We don't have those close, just you and I,
moments,
private, fun. I recall we went to Madison, just you and I, and we got to sit outside and share a beer and just talk. And
well, why aren't we doing that?
Well, it's probably a bit of a time thing with 3 little children. I mean,
so let's just go on record right now and say that we're going to recommit to doing that.
Okay.
Because you and I like a lot of the same things.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do.
And it would just be really fun because
we enjoy good food.
Yeah, and beer.
And beer and wine.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and this is just life. I mean, it is partly just life. Right. But I think about when we lived in Fargo and you and Dad would come for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what we're talking about, is that everything was cleared off the schedule. I didn't do laundry
while you were
Right.
at my house for a weekend because it was precious and you were just there. Think
Yes.
about how special the time was when you and Dad came out to Billings for Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I can just soak up those memories thinking about that.
Mhm.
And now, like, I might come over here and you're doing yard work and the kids are here and
It's just different.
it's just different. It's that interwovenness,
Mhm.
intertwined behavior. It's just the day to day. We're a part of your day to day.
Right.
So it's not this. It's not special anymore, but it's probably more precious.
Exactly.
And we just
I would go with that.
it's hard
More
to
precious.
it's hard to see it that way sometimes
And you
because
probably
you mourn what you
and
what
you won't
don't have.
probably see it that way until
You're gone.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna try really hard not to wait that long because I definitely feel that with Grandpa and Grandma.
Mm-hmm.
I've shared this with people before that, we've been back a decade now. Me and Jeremiah lived back in Oaks for an entire 10 years, which, man, that's gone by fast, 3 kids. And so of that, those 6 grandparents, 5 of them were here and all of them are gone.
I know. It's kind of incredible, isn't it?
It is. And it's incredible how much it shifts and changes. I said I felt so loved and suddenly I feel that much less love. And then you're
believe me.
scrambling.
Yes.
And I'm just a grandkid. They're your parent.
Right.
Which
Right.
I can't say at all that I know what that feels like because I haven't lost you, thank God. But
Yeah.
this is the stuff that I just wish more people would kind of talk about because
Yeah, don't wait till it's too late.
yeah, and in the personal development space where I spend a lot of time either researching, working,
Mm-hmm.
people make it so flipping black and white.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, like if you're not happy, leave it. Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I just,
Well, you can't always do that either. So.
well, I mean, sure, you can,
Yeah.
but I think something that a lot of us fail to remember is that the hole in your heart, whatever it's due to,
Mm-hmm.
if it's grief, like if you've lost your mom or you've lost, I don't know, whatever it is,
Right.
that discontentment or that struggle is going to follow you. And so sometimes there's a lot of work to be done to just
Right.
grapple with it.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm on the earth, I'm going to grapple
Yeah.
with a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
So
So
it's,
what I've found going through life more years than you.
You have been at it longer. It's a true
I
story.
have. When I was younger and times were tough or I had a particularly bad week coming up for whatever reason, I would say to myself, oh, if I can just get past that week or if I can just get past this month, I'll be okay. And somewhere along the line, I realized I was wishing my life away, that in every circumstance in life, there are things to be learned
Mm-hmm.
about yourself a lot of times.
Most of the time.
If you stop and think about it a little bit and don't wish your life away because it's pretty precious and it goes very fast.
I've never felt like a nurturer. That's never been something I feel like I've owned.
Yeah.
And I'm a mom, so that's always felt really dissonant for me.
Yeah.
Like I'd be such a better mom if I was just more, I don't know what that means or looks like to me.
Well, you're a very good mom.
Well, thanks, Mom.
You are.
I just don't feel like it. But I think the point that I'm even making with this whole
There
thing,
again, you're making comparisons to other people.
totally right,
Yeah.
totally.
Okay, stop doing that.
I know, right?
Stop
If
it.
only we could just completely stop.
Yeah.
But what I am feeling is more and more of a pull to really enjoy life with my children.
Mhm.
Like I'm feeling it. It's a visceral thing.
Yes. Good.
I know it is good because when they were babies, it's weird because oh my God, Facebook memories are like the most horrible things. Just last night, a memory popped up, and it was Sis. She's 1.
Yeah.
It would have been 3 years ago, and all I had put on the caption of the little video was, "We're learning our words." And it's Andrew and Carter on the floor of the kitchen, and Andrew's holding her little sippy cup. And I said, "Sissy, do you want your water?" And she toddles over. She had the tiny little sprout on
Yeah.
the top of her head. And she reaches for it, and Andrew puts his hands out. And I said, "What do you say?" And she looks up and she goes, "Please." face, just like that. And then they giggle and they all clap. And I was like, like it's just horrible.
Yeah.
It just goes by so fast.
Yes,
And the whole time I've had children, I've been on this journey to try not to lose who I am as a woman too, and figure out like, how do I work? And because I love to work.
Yes.
And that's probably why I don't feel like a nurturer, because I've always had this pull to do a thing, right, along with my children.
This isn't a right or a wrong.
It's not. I know.
No.
I know that logically, but in here it's always felt a little.
I understand.
And a lot of it is because I'm influenced by a lot of the wiser women in like the community here, and just that'll say, "Oh, honey," they'll say, "Oh, honey," like, don't wish your life away, and it goes by so fast. And when you're in it, it's really hard to see that.
Yeah.
I think you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, this last hour really crept by, so thanks for your big thoughts and ideas. You just cannot, you cannot see it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, and I've said this publicly, I've said this like to my mastermind group, that my goal is to build out enough work in the season before the summer that I can almost be home with them this summer, which will take a lot of effort. It's not going to be an easy thing. And I might want to hurt somebody. Like, I don't know. We'll see. Like how it all goes. There'll be some time that they'll hopefully will, you can have them a little bit. Like maybe they'll have some time away, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking so much that I want a life where it's not, my work isn't always going to be separate. Andrew's 9 years old. Renee and I talked about the fact that when she was raising her children and speaking, doing work really similar to mine, she'd bring them with her once they were old enough to stay in the hotel room, and she'd order them room service, and she'd let them watch movies while she was speaking.
Yeah.
But I am
You're not to that point.
not
So
quite. I mean, really, yeah, they can't stay. But Andrew could, right? So just,
You will figure that out.
yeah, I'm feeling
But there's
more and more of that.
There's
pull.
the planner in you right now.
Right.
I got to plan the next
10 years. But more of it is just, I'm recognizing that there are just moments, day by day, minute to minute, there's moments to just really appreciate. And kids give you a lot of material. I mean, if you're looking for funny things
Yes,
to
they do.
appreciate,
Yes.
I just, it's really interesting. And so I guess if nothing else, here's kind of, is there a takeaway for today? There's many, I think, when every woman I know that she watches this, there's a lot of things. You've shared a lot of things that I want to thank you for taking time just to say out loud. Because I think everybody is trying to figure it out. That's
Right.
I think what we're all trying to do. And sometimes maybe it's less figuring and less just, or more just, getting in tune with your heart and, and I guess I would encourage people, if you don't have family near you, that maybe we should be reaching out to our family. Because man, I would do anything to have had this conversation with Grandma sitting right between us.
Right.
And I didn't know how much I would need that until she wasn't here. So,
Me too.
and then you and I, we're going to commit to going places together because
All right.
we should, right? Why not, right? The kids have gotten older. That's, that's
Well,
things, and that's
it's
the baby,
easier.
the baby phase.
Yes.
As you shift out of that a little bit, it does get easier
Mhm.
to potentially do some of those things that you did before
Right.
you had them.
And there'll be many moments that we can do things together as Brittany gets older and we do girl things.
She really likes girls' trips already, and
She
she's only
does.
4.
She's only 4.
Yeah.
So that'll just get better. Yeah.
So I'll say it, and we can end here, and you can add something if you want, but you don't have to. I will just say that even though I no longer feel like I'd have to pack up my shit and move if something happened to you, I still, I can't imagine having a better neighbor.
I feel the
I know, I like to sign your birthday cards now, like your favorite neighbors. Like, sorry, everybody else in Berlin, but there's truly no one else. You and I have been through it. We've been up and down and sideways, and you do a lot for me. You're
and you do a lot for me.
The role that we have in each other's lives has changed so much because I really need you. Like, if I want to speak, like, I need you helping with my kids. It's really important.
We need each other, and we can always count on each other. I know that.
Right.
I can't imagine having a more wonderful daughter than you. And that's the truth. I'm not just saying that because I'm on camera.
Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
And I can't imagine. I'm thankful for you too. You've always been there for me. And like I said, in a quiet, unobtrusive, like you sat and watched me try to nurse a child for 7 weeks, the whole time just biting your tongue, like, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this. And you finally looked at me and was like, honey,
You don't have to do this. Yes.
And it just took, I appreciate that you're always there for me, but you wait until I come to you and ask. And it's like you really know how to mother me, which I'm very thankful for, because I don't know that doesn't always line up for people.
True.
I
would
because we're
say
different.
that's
We're
true.
very, very different people.
We are.
But you're
But
very,
I think if we were too much exactly the same, we'd probably butt heads, right? So
it'd be bad,
Yeah.
probably.
yeah, I think it was just the way it's supposed to be. You and me.
Absolutely.
Make a poem.
Thank you.
Mm.
Love you.
Love you too.